At what was supposed to be a celebration of my 25th birthday, my parents raised their glasses for a special toast, only to publicly thank me for a lifetime of letting them prioritize everyone else, especially my siblings. The guests awkwardly laughed, but I realized that day I wasn't being celebrated. I was being used. So I made a toast of my own, and walked away for good. During my 25th birthday cookout, my parents unveiled a distinctive tribute, a public dismantling of every blunder I'd ever committed, from my demolished Honda to my unproductive art degree. The assembly chuckled. I remained motionless, then departed, only to discover my phone inundated with their messages, demanding I seek pardon. Jake Larson narrowed his gaze at his fractured phone display, the alert from Mia radiating in the subdued illumination of his Austin dwelling. "Hey, Mom and Dad want to host a gathering for your 25th this Saturday at their place. Be there." He perused it again, his thumb poised above the reply. His parents, Linda and Greg, hadn't acknowledged his birth anniversary since he reached 22, perpetually preoccupied with doting on Mia, the medical school prodigy. At 25, Jake was merely the unkempt graphic designer who couldn't organize his life, freelancing for meager sums while student debts gnawed at his financial reserves. A cookout sounded like a snare, yet a glimmer of optimism, foolish, persistent optimism, prompted him to respond. "Cool, I'll attend." He canceled a logo project that paid $50, a choice that smarted when he reviewed his balance, $872. Nonetheless, he drove to a downtown second-hand shop, acquiring a pair of worn cowboy boots for $15. They weren't elegant, but they would make him appear less like the mess Linda consistently labeled him. Perhaps this was their gesture of atonement for years of sidelining him, for the divorce at 16 that left him vacillating between their guilt and recrimination. Greg, with his terse, ex-military tone, had once declared Jake's art degree a waste of paper. Linda, all feigned smiles and real estate ambition, delighted in contrasting him with Mia's flawless academic record. But a quarter-century felt significant. Perhaps they would finally acknowledge him. Saturday approached swiftly. Jake showered, donned a pristine flannel shirt, and laced up the boots, their leather creaking with each stride. He drove his sputtering 2009 Civic to their suburban expanse, 30 minutes away, mentally rehearsing casual conversation. The residence came into view, tidy lawn, fresh paint, evidence they prospered without him. He parked, stomach taut, and stepped out. String lights shimmered above the backyard fence. The aroma of grilling beef struck him powerfully. 25 years old today. Perhaps, just perhaps, this marked a fresh beginning. Jake pushed through the backyard gate, the murmur of conversation and clinking bottles greeting him. The cookout was in full swing. String lights swayed above a picnic table laden with chips and coleslaw, smoke wafting from the grill where Greg turned burgers. Approximately 20 individuals mingled, neighbors in patio chairs, Mia sipping a seltzer, and Tyler, Jake's gangly high school friend, waving from the cooler. Linda noticed him, her real estate agent's smile flashing as she announced, "There's the birthday boy." Jake forced a grin, seizing a beer to steady his nerves. The atmosphere felt peculiar. Greg's nod was abrupt, Mia's gaze darted away, but he dismissed it. He had arrived, that held some significance. The sun descended, painting the sky orange, when Greg struck his beer bottle against the grill's edge. "All right, everyone, gather round," he bellowed, his voice piercing the chatter. Heads turned, and Jake straightened, anticipating a gruff but respectable toast. Linda positioned herself beside Greg, her heels clicking on the patio stones, while Mia retrieved her phone, aiming it in their direction. "We've prepared a special toast for Jake's Big 25, Greg stated, smirking. Jake's chest relaxed. Perhaps this was it, the validation he had yearned for. Then it commenced. "Jake Larson, a lifetime of disappointing us," Linda proclaimed, her tone dripping with feigned solemnity. Greg chuckled, continuing the theme. "Kid obtained an art degree, frame that failure on the wall." Laughter rippled through the assembly. Jake's beer bottle froze halfway to his lips. Linda leaned in. "Recall that Honda he wrecked at 17? Our insurance still resents us." More laughter, sharper now. Greg interjected. Freelancing? More like freeloading. Can't even cover his own rent. Jake's face burned. He glanced at Tyler, who averted his gaze, fidgeting. It deteriorated further. Linda's voice adopted a sing-song quality. And poor Sarah, his high school sweetheart, left him because he couldn't keep her content, if you catch my drift. A few gasps mingled with snickers. Jake's grip tightened, the bottle chilling against his palm. Mia zoomed in, smirking behind her screen. Then Greg delivered the decisive blow. We've been discussing, and as for the will, Jake's excluded. Mia's the only one who's earned a single thing. Linda nodded, extracting a plastic container from beneath the table. Jake's old baseball card collection, meticulously assembled as a child. These are worth, what, $2,000 now? She said, handing it to Mia. Happy early birthday, hon. The backyard swirled. Guests shifted. Some openly laughed, others gazed at their plates. Jake's throat constricted. He scanned the faces, settling on Tyler's grimace. This was not a toast, it was an execution. Linda concluded, her voice bright. So, Jake, you're officially self-sufficient. No more assistance from us. Greg raised his bottle to Mia. The true Larson legacy. Applause and cheers erupted as Mia performed a mock bow, cradling the cards. Jake stood rooted, the burger he'd taken earlier transforming into lead in his stomach. His new boots felt absurd now, a jester's costume for this spectacle. He struggled to breathe. 25 years, and this was their offering. Thanks, he croaked, barely audible, setting the beer down untouched. Heads turned, awaiting his collapse or outburst. He did neither. He simply turned, legs stiff, and walked to his Civic, the gate thudding shut behind him. The engine sputtered to life, muffling the fading laughter. He drove away, knuckles white, the night engulfing him entirely. Jake's apartment felt diminished that evening, the solitary bulb flickering above his worn sofa. He collapsed onto it, the Civic's keys clattering onto the coffee table, still strewn with unpaid invoices. His phone vibrated. Tyler's message. Dude, that was messed up. You good? Then Mia's. It was just a roast. Don't be so sensitive. Jake stared at the screen, thumb hovering, but did not reply. The cookout replayed in his mind, Linda's smug delivery, Greg's barking laugh, the crowd's cackles. 25 years old, and his parents had transformed him into a punching bag for their amusement. He yanked off his new boots, tossing them into a corner where they landed with a dull thud. By Monday, the repercussions intensified. His phone illuminated with a voicemail from Greg. Return the spare house key. You're not staying here anymore. Figure things out yourself. Linda texted next. We're serious about the will, Jake. Don't expect a cent. He deleted both, jaw clenched. He'd spent years evading their taunts, Greg's. You're no son of mine. Tirades, Linda's sighs about Mia's perfect grace. But this was a final, decisive blow. He opened his laptop, hoping work could dull the ache, only to discover an email from his most significant client. Sorry, Jake, that logo error was a deal breaker. We're done. His stomach plummeted. That project was $200 a month, half his rent. He refreshed his banking application, $12.47. Panic clawed at him. He'd canceled a job for that cursed cookout, and now he was ruined. Tuesday brought worse. Scrolling X to divert himself, he froze. A blurred video titled Family Goals appeared in a local Austin group, boasting over 500 members. It was the toast, filmed by a shaky hand belonging to a neighbor. Linda's couldn't keep her happy. Line crackled through, Greg handing Mia the cards, the crowd's laughter echoing. Comments accumulated. What a loser! Savage parents. His phone vibrated again. Coworkers he barely knew sent laughing emojis. Even his barista from the neighborhood coffee shop texted. Saw you online. Oof. By noon, it had 300 likes. Jake's chest tightened. He slammed the laptop shut, pacing his small living room. This wasn't just family, it was public, viral, a spotlight on his humiliation. He retrieved a beer from the refrigerator, but it remained unopened, his hands trembling too severely to twist the cap. He sank to the floor, back against the wall, and allowed the past to engulf him. At 15, he mowed lawns to contribute to community college expenses while Mia received a full scholarship from Linda's savings. At 18, he'd spent weekends beneath Greg's truck, greasy and unpaid, repairing it so Greg could boast about instilling a work ethic in him. He'd remained silent when Linda displayed Mia's medical school acceptance on the mantelpiece, his art portfolio relegated to a drawer. Every late-night design project, every skip meal to repay loans, he'd done it to prove he wasn't their failure. But they had never cared. The cards, those damned baseball cards, hit hardest. He'd sought them out at flea markets as a child, exchanging chores for quarters, a quiet defiance against their neglect. Now Mia possessed them, likely to sell for her next textbook. Wednesday, he skipped a shower, unshaven in yesterday's flannel. The rent deadline loomed, $600 due in 10 days, and he had nothing. He texted Tyler, "Not good, man. Lost a client, and now I'm a meme." Tyler replied, "Crash with me if you need to." But Jake didn't answer. Pride, or perhaps stubbornness, kept him rooted. He opened the refrigerator again, ketchup packets, a withered carrot, 2 beers. He'd reached rock bottom, but anger was surging through the mire. They'd ridiculed him, stripped him bare, and now the world was laughing too. His phone vibrated. Greg again. "Key now. Don't make me come get it." Jake smirked, bitter. They imagined he'd simply yield, the same old Jake, the pushover. He stood, tossing the phone onto the couch. He was no longer their doormat. Linda's real estate website, he'd built it 2 years prior, unpaid because family helps family. Greg's pension, he'd sorted the login last tax season when Greg couldn't comprehend it. They were unaware of what he possessed, what he could accomplish. The video still looped in his mind, but now it fueled something else, rage, cold, and sharp. He cracked the beer, took a long swallow, and muttered, "You don't get to win this." 25 wasn't over yet. Jake's apartment reeked of stale beer and desperation by Thursday, the rent deadline ticking closer like a bomb. He barely slept, the viral video's comments, epic fail of a son, searing into his mind. His phone remained dark, he'd powered it off after Greg's last text, unwilling to confront further demands for the key. The world perceived him as a joke now, but he wasn't amused. He paced barefoot on the worn carpet, formulating a strategy. Linda and Greg believed they had disemboweled him at that cookout, but they had overlooked something. He wasn't merely their punching bag, he possessed keys of his own, not to their residence, but to their livelihoods. He activated his laptop, the fan whirring loudly in the silence. First, Linda's real estate website. He'd constructed it from scratch 2 summers ago, without charge, because she'd guilt him with, "You owe us." He logged into the hosting account, fingers steady now, and hit suspend. The site vanished offline, her listings, her ostentatious headshot, gone. She'd been boasting about a $5,000 condo transaction. Without that site, it had slipped through her manicured fingers. Next, Greg's pension. Jake had established the online portal last April, Greg grumbling about technology while Jake typed the password, Gulf War 91. He smirked, altering it to a random 20-character string, then logged out. Greg wouldn't see a dime until he implored the VA for a reset, and Jake knew he'd rather chew glass than request assistance. For days he remained off the grid, no calls, no X, just him and his escalating fury. By Sunday he was prepared. He purchased a cheap coffee from the gas station, his hands still gritty from a sleepless night, and texted them from his defunct phone's SIM and a borrowed charger. "Can we talk? I'm sorry. Just want to fix this. Coffee at my place, noon." He pitched his voice low, cracked when he recorded it, pure enticement. Linda replied in 10 minutes. "Fine, we'll be there." Greg's, "Don't waste my time," followed. They'd taken the bait swiftly, likely salivating at the prospect of his groveling. Noon arrived, and tires crunched outside. Jake peeked through the blinds, Linda in a blazer, Greg in his faded camouflage cap, both striding as if they had already triumphed. He prepared the room, laptop on the table, a cheap coffee pot gurgling, 3 chipped mugs. He opened the door, slumping his shoulders, eyes down. "Thanks for coming," he mumbled, allowing them entry. Linda's perfume struck first, sharp and self-satisfied. Greg's boots thudded heavily. "This better be quick," Greg snapped, dropping into a chair. Linda perched on the couch, crossing her legs. "We're here to hear you out, Jake. That stunt at the barbecue was for your own good." He nodded, pouring coffee with shaky hands, part act, part adrenaline. "I get it," he said, voice soft. "You were trying to toughen me up. I didn't expect it to hurt so bad." Linda's lips twitched, a feigned pout forming. "Oh, honey, we had to be honest. You've been coasting too long." Greg grunted. "About time you faced reality." Jake bit his tongue, setting the mugs down. They sipped, smug as hell, while he sat opposite, hands clasped. "So, the will, the cards, that's final?" he inquired. Linda shrugged. "Mia's earned it. You haven't." That was his cue. "Okay," he said, standing. "1 second. Got something to show you." He flipped open the laptop, clicked play. The barbecue video blared, Linda's. Couldn't keep her happy. Greg's. Real Larson legacy. The crowd's laughter filling the room. Their faces froze. Greg's mug clinked hard on the table. "What the hell is this?" he growled. Jake didn't flinch. "Just a reminder." He slid 2 folders across, one for each. Linda held screenshots, her emails trashing clients as cheap bastards, saved from when he managed her inbox. Greg's had invoices, $200 overcharges on break jobs, logged when Jake balanced his books for free. "I disabled your site, Mom," he said, calm. "That condo deal's toast. And Dad, your pension's locked. Good luck with the VA." Linda's eyes widened. Greg's fist clenched. "You little," he began, but Jake interrupted. "You don't own me anymore." He pointed to the door. "Coffee's yours." "I'm done." Their jaws hung slack, the video looping behind him. For once, they had nothing to say. 6 weeks had elapsed since Jake turned the tables in his cramped apartment, and the commotion still hadn't subsided. His phone, once a buzzing hornet's nest, lay silent on the kitchen counter. New number, new quiet. He leaned against the sink, sipping instant coffee from a mismatched mug, gazing out at the Austin skyline through a smudged pane. The rent was paid barely, thanks to a last-minute flyer he designed for a taco truck, $150, enough to keep the lights on. At 25, he wasn't flourishing, but he was standing, and that felt like a triumph. Linda's world had fractured since he'd disabled her site. Word spread. Clients ghosted her after those leaked emails portrayed her as a deceitful shark. Her calls had diminished, replaced by a single voicemail last week. "Jake, this is absurd. Fix it or I'll sue." He deleted it unperturbed. Greg's shop also suffered. Those overbilling receipts Jake had disseminated sparked whispers, and 2 regulars switched to a competitor down the street. His last text, a week ago, was pure venom. "You're dead to me." Jake hadn't recoiled. He'd been dead to Greg long before the cookout. Mia remained silent, likely nursing her own wounds after the fallout. The baseball cards were hers now, but the victory felt hollow when the family imploded. The viral video persisted online, a stubborn blemish. Jake hadn't removed it. He let it fester, a mirror for their cruelty. Some local ex-users still tagged him in memes, but the buzz had faded, superseded by the next trivial scandal. He'd entered the corner coffee shop yesterday, braced for sneers, but the barista simply nodded, sliding him a black coffee, small mercies. Tyler had visited last weekend, pizza box in hand, and sprawled on the couch. "You're reeling, man," he'd said, grinning. "You actually did it." Jake had shrugged, picking at a slice. Had to. He'd sold his old PlayStation on Craigslist for $80, fuel money for a plan he'd been contemplating for hours: Big Bend National Park. The Southwest had been on his radar since he was 19. Greg had once scoffed at it. What's the point of dirt and rocks? But Jake perceived freedom in those trails. He booked a campsite for next month, solo, no apologies. The boots from the cookout, scuffed but sturdy, would carry him there. He adopted a new surname as well, not legally, not yet, but in spirit. His latest invoice went out as Jake L., a quiet severing of ties. Linda and Greg could retain their name. He was forging his own. The job market flickered with promise. A high school friend, Carlos, had contacted him on X about a gig, logo work for a brewery opening downtown. Heard you're good with a pen, Carlos wrote. Meet up next week? Jake had typed back. Yeah, let's talk. His pulse quickened. It wasn't a lifeline, but it was a connection. Tyler had again offered his couch if the rent ran dry, a backup Jake acknowledged without relying on. He'd slept on enough floors growing up, Greg's garage, Linda's basement, when they couldn't decide who would take him after the divorce. No more. He set the mug down, glancing at the refrigerator. A solitary beer rattled inside, beside a takeout container, enough for tonight. The apartment wasn't much, but it was his, free of their control. 26 loomed, 8 months away, and he envisioned it. No backyard, no toasts, just him, perhaps a fire pit at Big Bend, stars overhead. Linda and Greg had burned the bridge, but he'd crossed it first. He grabbed a sketch pad, doodling a cactus beneath a moon. Rough, but his. For the first time in years, the weight on his chest felt lighter, not gone, but manageable. He wasn't their failure anymore. He was Jake. Period. And that was sufficient.